or rather, kaboom, the bubble burst, so loudly that someone's child started crying. They say a few people are running away. Meanwhile, you see them, clinging on their Victorian armchairs as they look down the ivory tower. They see nothing but what they've been wanting to see this whole time. A Maya veil that comforts them as they get high on money and fame. One of the myriads of comments who flooded my Facebook feed, I think is a particularly good starting point for analysis. I don't understand. Every one of my friends on Facebook is going against Trump. So who voted for him? Let's break this down, shall we? Point 1. I don't understand. As you can see, you're not the only one. But wait a few minutes, it gets worse. Point 2. Everybody of my friends. Clearly, there is a widely spread misconception here. We're so self-absorbed by our atomistic understanding of society and the world that the whole horizon of possibilities extend up until my friends. The rest, so about 99.99999% of the world population, does not even figure in the realm of possibilities. The interconnectedness of the internet era works as a magnificent amplifier for social detachment and conceitedness, to the point that the whole saying, "you are who you hang out with," translates into, "the world is who I hang out with." Point 3. On Facebook. The ultimate source of moral judgment, the Bible and Constitution of the 21st century. The hell with a critical approach, the hell with any reasonable doubt. If Facebook says it, then the sentence has been declared. And since Facebook is nothing but the tailored alter ego of its users, if we say it, then it must be that way. In a vicious circle of dogmatism that has supplanted religious faith. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a big fan of religion, but is memes idolatry the way forward? Point 4. Going against Trump. Like xenophobic, bigot, racist, sexist, ignorant, narcissist, and so on and so forth. The morally righteous minds have taken up arms against the sea of troubles, and by opposing, made them stronger. Every attack directed to Trump was an attack to his supporters. Every time the establishment criticized him, his holy character of savior shone brighter. He, who fought against all odds, who took on the possibly strongest political network in the history of the United States of America. He, the outspoken and successful businessman who embodies so well the great hopes of the capitalist American dream. He, who tells it like it is. The dichotomal feature of US politics was brought to an extent never seen before. Once the Sanders campaign failed, the forces of the good were concentrated in an all-out war of us against them, where us represented the elite, and them, well, at least 60 million Americans who on November 8th flipped them off. Because underneath the sweet rhetoric of inclusion advanced by Mrs. Clinton, there lay a not-so-hidden disdain for that basket of deplorables, as she once called Trump supporters. Hegel, a 19th century German philosopher, had placed an enormous importance on the concept of mutual recognition. The claim that life is based upon recognition has a very deep implication in terms of society. If two individuals are presenting to each other, and they're faced with the task to mutually recognize each other, they will have to understand two things. First, that the person in front of them is an independent, self-understanding agent as they are, and it is thus, in this sense, identical to them. And second, that he or she has a different point of view on the world, which can be valued on the basis of our society's system of beliefs. Mutual recognition is thus seen as the first step towards social understanding. As my former philosophy professor Andrew Bowie wrote, indeed, without mutual acknowledgement between self and other, rights have no concrete form at all. This whole concept has been thrown down the drain. In our increasingly polarized societies, there exist only extremes. Again, us or them. Whatever is in the middle, which coincidentally is the space of democratic engagement is disappearing at a terrifying speed. A reflection on the significance of democracy and our role within it is desperately necessary. Unfortunately, we're not taught to be citizens. Unfortunately, most of us will never be able to have such a discussion because political ignorance is the elixir of a lifelong political career based on deceit. Families are not teaching their children how to be citizens, and certainly not schools, which far from being the space for democracy to thrive, they're rather its deathbed, feeding the young generations with a set of ready-made answers that trump their innate curiosity and freeze the elasticity of their minds. 5. Who voted for him? In other words, who is to blame? I am to blame. You are to blame. We're all to blame. Neoliberal capitalism is to blame. Political atrophy is to blame. Moral hypocrisy is to blame. In Beyond Good and Evil, Nietzsche attacked the European man, and in some sense, all of the good-hearted multiculturalists of our times, by saying that man, nowadays, assumes an air as if he were the only kind of man that is allowable. He glorifies his qualities such as public spirit, kindness, deference, industry, temperance, modesty, indulgence, sympathy, by virtue of which he is gentle, endurable, and useful to the herd. Blinded by the privileges of an abundant life, we built our castles of sand confident in Fukuyama's end of history. If not for the whole world, then certainly for our first world. Living in a constant state of denial, we believe that casting the right vote and complaining on a Facebook post is all we need to have the right to be outraged at the world's injustice. But the truth is, we do not even know what justice means, because we never challenged our values in the first place. I was talking to a friend a while ago. She confessed that she was not sure if feminism was right anymore. The claim struck me because I had known her to be a pretty convinced one. But she reminded me of a fundamental characteristic of conviction: doubt. Doubt, far from being a show of weakness, is the most courageous act of intellectual honesty. You know where you will not find out? On your Facebook newsfeed. Contemporary philosopher Slavoj Žižek pointed out something that I find extremely relevant. He quotes Marx, who in his thesis on Feuerbach wrote, "Philosophers have hitherto interpreted the world, the point is to change it." To this, he adds that maybe today, we should better say, in the 20th century, we tried to change the world maybe too quickly. The time is to interpret it again, to start thinking. In our fast-paced, globalized world, it seems to be a daring task. But what if we questioned the foundations of our values in our societies and asked ourselves, and most important of all, each other, why? Not to look for an answer that satisfies us, rather to initiate an urgently needed dialogue.